What if I told you that saving money is actually a terrible idea? Well, here's the thing. Saving money can be a good or bad idea depending on how you do it. And unfortunately, most people don't even realize that they're doing it all wrong until it's too late. So today I want to go over 3 different ways that saving money can be a terrible idea, so that you could avoid making the same mistakes. First, I want to talk about something called opportunity cost. This is an extremely important concept that relates to almost everything in life, but it seems like not enough people are taught this in school. To put it simply, the opportunity cost of something is the value of the next best alternative that you have to give up in order to get that thing. For example, let us say you had $10, and there was an opportunity for you to either buy some groceries or buy yourself a new controller for your console. Well, if you spend that $10 on the controller, then the opportunity cost would be the groceries that you gave up. But here's where things get more interesting. Let's say you deposit that same $10 into a savings account at a bank. Now the opportunity cost is whatever you could have bought with the interest that you earn from that $10. For example, with today's inflation, let's assume that $10 would earn 7 cents in interest after 1 year. Now the opportunity cost of that $10 becomes whatever you could have bought with those 7 cents, which means that effectively, you just lost 7 cents worth of purchasing power. And over time, the longer you keep your money in a savings account, the more it's going to lose value. This is why you often hear older people talk about how their money used to go a lot further back in the day. They mention how a house used to only cost $30,000, or how you could buy an entire steak dinner for less than $10. The reason why this was possible is because the dollar had much more purchasing power than it does today. And because of this, when we look back, we think that everything used to be way cheaper. But really, we're just realizing the opportunity cost of saving money. If these same people had saved their money back in the 1950s, instead of spending it, then their money would have lost even more purchasing power. So to summarize, every time you save money, you have to ask yourself, what would I rather give up to save this extra money? And if you aren't able to come up with something valuable, then maybe you shouldn't save it. The second reason why saving money can be a bad idea is because it doesn't protect you from bad financial habits. People tend to develop their financial habits long before they ever find themselves in a position where they have extra money to save. For example, if you were the type of person who always spent every single penny that you made, then even if you won the lottery, eventually you'd run out of money. This is because you never developed any financial habits that would allow you to properly manage large sums of money. And unfortunately, this is exactly what happens to many people who retire with large amounts of money. They end up running out of money much faster than they expected. So even though they planned for decades and saved up a ton of money, once they start spending it, they run out within a few years. It's very sad to see this happen. But the truth is, most of these people didn't suddenly become financially responsible just because they reached retirement age. Instead, they had the same spending habits throughout their lives. And they just happened to be lucky enough to stick it out until they retired. So if you're someone who is trying to build wealth and save money, then it's important that you do and just focus on building good financial habits while you're reworking. You also need to make sure that you maintain those same habits once you reach retirement. And you do this by tracking your spending, cutting unnecessary expenses, diversifying your income sources, and avoiding lifestyle inflation. In fact, it might even make things worse. So please, make sure that you are redeveloping good financial habits from a young age, no matter how much money you make. And finally, let's talk about the opportunity cost of saving for retirement. Even though retirement accounts like 401 kiloseconds and Roth IRAs offer some incredible tax advantages, there's still an opportunity cost that comes with investing in them. In fact, according to Fidelity, the average 401k balance for someone between the ages of 20 and 29 is $8,700. And although that sounds like a decent amount of money, when you consider the fact that the average starting salary for someone fresh out of college is around $56,000, then you realize that this is only around 15% of their income. And considering that the average student loan debt for someone in this age group is close to $36,000, it's safe to say that many of these people are struggling to pay off their debt and save for retirement at the same time. But when you break it down, ULL realized that the primary reason why they are able to save this money is because they have their entire salary automatically transferred to a retirement account without them even seeing it. However, what a lot of people don't realize is that technically they could redirect that money towards other opportunities that may have the potential to make them a lot more money. For example, they could use that money to start a business, invest in real estate, or put it towards paying off their student loans early. Each of these options could potentially lead to far more wealth being created than if they had just left the money in their retirement account and hoped that the market would grow it for them. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you should withdraw from your retirement account. I'm just pointing out that sometimes there are better opportunities out there that you might be missing out on. By putting all of your money into your retirement account, and ultimately the decision comes down to whether or not you believe that these opportunities are worth giving up. Also, if you're enjoying this video and you've learned something new, then please hit the like button. It really helps out a lot. Now, I know that a lot of you are probably thinking that this whole opportunity cost thing doesn't apply to you because you do and have any student loan debt. And you do and have any plans to start a business. Well, even for you, there can still be better opportunities out there that you aren't taking advantage of. For example, let's say you were young and you have a decent amount of time until you plan on retiring. Well, in that case, you could afford to take on more risk with your investments because you have more time to recover if something goes wrong. So even though saving for retirement is definitely important, you shouldn't be afraid to explore other investment opportunities that may offer a higher return. One place you could look is alternative investments, which can include anything from collectible items like stamps and coins, artwork, classic cars, and even things like wine. There's a huge variety of things that you could invest in, and each category has its own unique benefits. For example, unlike stocks and bonds, fine art tends to perform very well during inflationary times. The issue, however, is that most people aren't even aware that these investments exist. And that's exactly what makes them so attractive. By definition, alternative investments are alternatives to traditional investments like stocks and bonds. And since most people don't even know that these alternatives exist, it gives you the potential to get higher returns than the average investor. Another great part about these types of investments is that they are typically not correlated to the stock market, which means that they don't always move in the same direction. This is beneficial because it allows you to diversify your portfolio beyond just stocks and bonds, which is exactly what a lot of wealthy investors do. And if you're someone who wants to learn more about alternative investments then, and as you can see there's so much more to investing than just throwing all your money into a retirement account and hoping for the best. So overall, even though saving money is usually a good idea, it's important to remember that there are opportunity costs involved. By understanding this, you can make sure that you're getting the most out of your money. Now, of course, saving money is still going to be beneficial in most situations, but it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. So hopefully this video gave you some things to consider. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here again soon.